Here are the top stories for today, the 29th of March, 2022. The Bureau of Customs and the Agriculture Department are one in calling for digitalization of systems to curb smuggling, which takes a toll on local farmers' livelihood. Some 3,700 persons have so far been evacuated due to Taal volcano's continued unrest. The NDRRMC says it is ready for the worst, assuring that the needs of the affected residents are met. The Department of Education assures the disbursement of more funds as schools gear up for the expansion of limited face-to-face classes. And nothing but suffering and lost lives, the country's defense chief urges New People's Army members to surrender and stop meaningless armed struggle which has spanned to over 5 decades. Good day, I am William Theo. Welcome to the PNA Newsroom. The digitalization of systems is seen as a key to curb agricultural smuggling in the country, which continues to take a toll on the livelihood of local farmers. This after the Senate grilled the Bureau of Customs and the Department of Agriculture over the influx of smuggled products in the country, pointing to the inconsistent data from the two agencies. The details from Chris Mundo.
The Bureau of Customs and the Department of Agriculture both agreed that digitalization of their system would boost the government's fight against the smuggling of agricultural products in the country. During the hearing, Senate President Vicente Sotto III noticed inconsistencies in the government's records of imported agricultural products.
To make things worse, efforts made in conducting some of the operations against smugglers were put to naught as cases have not yet been filed. What are the BOC and the DA doing about these inconsistencies?
BOC Assistant Commissioner Vincent Maronilla said the discrepancy in the data presented by both agencies was due to different data references. Maronilla said the BOC has already automated its clearance system in terms of its customer portal system.
For the Bureau of Customs, our data is based on actual import volumes, and we want to verify with the Department of Agriculture if the same is the basis for the data they presented, or is it based from actual import permits that was issued, but disregarded whether these import permits were actually used. But as far as the Bureau is concerned, Mr. President, these are data coming from actual importations, and we think there lies the discrepancy.
Maronilla said the BOC is now working with the World Bank for its major automation project, the Philippine Customs Modernization Project. An e-track system is also being implemented to monitor shipments entering the country via a global positioning system.
At this point, initial procurement of the initial stage of the Philippine Customs Modernization Project, which is the procurement of the PSQA, or the Quality Assurance Advisors, is already underway. Hopefully after that, we will be able to start with the procurement process of the customs processing system, which will replace our current system and will modernize it at par with the other international standards together with the World Bank.
Meanwhile, Agriculture Assistant Secretary Federico Lasista Jr. explains that their data is not in accordance with the data gathered by the BOC because they lag in monitoring smuggled agricultural products.
Pertaining to that, sir, the discrepancy, hindi pa po kasi centralized ang database po namin. Wala po tayong way of monitoring po kung ilan po talaga yung dumadating at saka as per contrast sa issued po ng mga SPSIC po.
Soto said all the concerned government agencies should have the authority and capacity to effectively address smuggling in the country.
Kung kinikailangan po, lahat sila may kapangyarihan na kumpiskahin agad-agad ang mga laganap na kontrabando. Kontrabando natin tatawagin yun dapat Sa ganung paraan, mabilis natin matutulungan yung mga naghihingalo na mga magsasaka.
In the same Senate inquiry into the smuggling of agricultural products, the League of Associations at the La Trinidad Vegetable Trading Area said they are losing huge money due to the rampant smuggling of vegetables and fruits in the country. The group's public relations officer, Agot Balonoy, said their regular daily order of carrots declined by up to 40% or equivalent to 2.5 million pesos per day since last year, as retailers and consumers prefer to buy smuggled carrots from China.
Our economy in Benguet is actually anchored largely to agriculture. So for vegetable smuggling, we started complaining as a backgrounder. We just would like to establish our claim that smuggling never stopped at all. So we started complaining last year, July and August, but the Department of Agriculture denied that there is smuggling or there are vegetables coming from China entering our market. So after they officially claimed that, we made our own research and we posted our the result of our research. So if you could look at the screen, I have encircled there the dates where we posted our documentation. So monthly, it started with August, September, October, November. There are cases wherein the farmers are giving away their produce as reliefs or they throw it away. According to the consumers, the China carrots can be stored for 2 months and it will not be destroyed, while our Benguet carrots are easily destroyed within 2 to 3 days.
Soto warned Filipino consumers from buying cheaper carrots in the market.
Isa sa mga dapat malaman ng mga kababayan natin, yung mga carrots na galing sa abroad or imported or smuggled, usually smuggled. Kaya ang tumatagal ng 2 buwan yun, may gamot yun. Dapat malaman ng mga kababayan natin na masama sa katawan ng tao yun. Kaya hindi nila dapat pinipili yun.
For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Chris Mundo.
Agriculture Secretary William Dar condemns the alleged smuggling and illegal entry of agricultural products into the country. In a statement, Dar said aside from competing directly with the local farmers, fishers, and food producers, smuggled products may carry transboundary pests and diseases that could harm our agriculture, fishery, and animal industry, which might endanger human health. He says the department will act swiftly and decisively to reprimand staff members and officials involved, stressing that they will face appropriate charges if warranted. Evacuation efforts are underway in high-risk areas affected by Taal volcano's unrest. Taal remains restive with 3 phreatomagmatic bursts recorded within the past 24 hours. NDRRMC spokesperson Mark Timbal says over 3,700 persons are now staying in 17 evacuation centers, while over 1,200 others are staying with their families in other areas within Batangas. Timbal says local government units have enough food packs for evacuees, while the Batangas provincial government has an augmentation supply on standby. Despite some signs of calming, the Philippine Institute of Volcanology and Seismology says it is monitoring Taal for 2 weeks to determine whether to stay, raise, or lower its alert level.
Yung ating mga kasamahan po from the uniformed services like AFP, PNP, Bureau of Fire and Coast Guard, lahat po ng assets po nila dyan sa area ay naka-ready for deployment para maka-assist sa mga evacuation activities. Pati din po yung mga personnel. Yung ating DOH naman po, yung DSWD ay nakaantabay po para magbigay din ng suporta.
A pork production project of a hog farm in Magalang, Pampanga got the nod of the Board of Investments. The project, worth 61.8 million pesos of Zashi Hog Farm Incorporated, aims to stabilize local pork supply. The new project, which involves the establishment of a gestating building and farrowing facility, particularly for the breeding, growing, and raising of piglets. The project is expected to breed 11,856 hogs, or a total of 106 metric tons of pork. This is said to add the essential support to the local hog industry recently hit by African swine fever, or ASF. The Department of Education assured schools that it would allot additional funds for preparations on the progressive expansion of limited in-person classes. This is in response to claims of a group that some teachers use their own resources for the measure. Deped Undersecretary Annalyn Sevilla said that some regional offices started downloading the additional funds for maintenance and other operating expenses last March 4. Deped Undersecretary Annalyn Sevilla said that some 936 million pesos out of the 977 million peso schools MOOE fund have been downloaded by the Deped regional offices. Based on the directive of Secretary Leonor Briones, they plan to act immediately in planning and anticipating the needs of Deped personnel, teachers, and learners. The Deped urged the heads of schools included in the progressive expansion of face-to-face classes to coordinate with the division and regional office for the additional funds. The Department of Education, or Deped, reiterated its goal to get more learners with disabilities enrolled in school. The Deped made the announcement in line with the celebration of the 18th Women with Disability Day in an online webinar with the National Council of Disability Affairs on Monday. The agency joined the Department of Labor and Employment, Department of the Interior and Local Government, and other stakeholders in promoting 3 E's to empowerment for women with special needs, particularly their equal participation in education, employment, and election. Besides increasing the learners' enrollment, Deped is also doubling its efforts to increase the number of schools with programs and teachers for learners with disabilities. To date, about 13,000 schools in the country have a special education program, or SPED. Still to come, the emergency use authorization for a 4th dose of COVID-19 vaccine is still under process. And the Binondo Intramuros Bridge is expected to open early next month. Details ahead. Keep it here on the PNA Newsroom. The COVID-19 pandemic has greatly changed our lives for the worse. Lives and jobs were lost and economies reached a meltdown. Thanks to the arrival of safe and effective vaccines, we are one step closer to normalcy. It's time to do our part, get vaccinated for our safety and for our recovery.
If you are there in that community, go there and have yourself vaccinated by any of the vaccines available. They are all potent, they are all effective.
I would like to appeal to all our kababayans, please get vaccinated against COVID-19 and be the government partner in preventing further spread of the disease. I encourage you to get vaccinated as soon as possible time. These vaccines are safe and they are the key to reopening our society. The need for international solidarity and cooperation cannot be made clearer than this pandemic, because everyone is safe. No one is safe globally until everybody is safe.
Vaccines work. The Department of Health, or DOH, has been eyeing the administration of a 4th dose or 2nd dose booster for the COVID-19 vaccine by next month. The department targets to administer the additional jab to senior citizens and the immunocompromised, but to date, their application for the emergency use authorization has yet to be amended.
Nag-apply na po ang DOH ng amendments sa EUA para sa mga piling bakuna na pwedeng ibigay pang 4th dose or 2nd booster. Hinahanda na po natin ang ating mga guidelines. Patuloy na nakikipagtalas-taasan tayo sa mga eksperto. Inirekomenda sa mga tinatawag na high risk at vulnerable group. Tinatansya natin mga last week of April. Baka pwede nating simulan ito.
Pangasinan and Bicol provinces are winning the fight against COVID-19 with low confirmed cases this past week. Meanwhile, Iloilo is still inching its way to recovery even with a low turnout of vaccinees. The details from Marita Moahe.
In Iloilo, residents may receive 1,000 pesos each for getting inoculated with COVID-19 vaccine. This as the provincial government ramps up its COVID-19 vaccination drive to meet its target of 70% population protection. As of Monday, Iloilo has posted 74.19% rate among those who got their first dose, 67.78% for those who are completely vaccinated, and only 10.33% received their booster dose. Iloilo Provincial Health Officer 2 Dr. Maria Socorro Quinyon said the incentive will be given to the 6,750 senior citizens, persons with disabilities, and indigent residents in their area who will avail of the life-saving jobs. Quinona said aside from incentives, their personnel and vaccinators conduct house-to-house campaigns and go to places of convergence just to reach the quota within this month. Iloilo Province is under the Alert Level 1 except for Iloilo City, Aklan, Bacolod City, and Capiz, which are under Alert Level 1. Meanwhile, Pangasinan reports only 4 new cases as of yesterday evening. Provincial Health Chief Dr. Ana Maria Teresa de Guzman attributed the high vaccination rate in the province to the continuing decline in the number of coronavirus confirmed cases. And in Bicol, the number of new cases in the region has also remained low during the last 4 weeks. Kin Nuida of the Regional Epidemiology and Surveillance Unit said no new cases have been recorded as of Monday, March 28. However, he still reminded the public to always observe the minimum public health standards. For the PNA Newsroom, I am Marita Moahe.
Cebu, Negros Occidental, and the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao assured strict implementations of health protocols amid various sorties and local campaign events. The details from Stephanie Sevillano.
In Cebu City, Councilor Joel Garganera, who is also the head of the Emergency Operations Center, assures that while all gatherings are potential spreaders of the virus, the risk of transmission is minimized if the events are being held in open air or alfresco settings. Amid the local campaign period, Garganera stressed the importance of wearing a face mask and being fully vaccinated before participating in any outdoor events. Mayor Michael Rama, meanwhile, said the city is now embracing an open policy to go back to what the people have been used to before the pandemic and calamity. In Negros Occidental, the first 3 days of the local campaign were described as fiesta-like atmosphere. Governor Eugenio Jose Lacson said he was able to attend some of the local campaign events and so that all supporters are out in the open supporting their respective candidates. He said the big crowds amid the COVID-19 pandemic are hard to control as these are already the people speaking. Negros Occidental is still under Alert Level 2, but with only 50 remaining active COVID-19 cases as of March 27. Meanwhile, no election-related violence has so far been reported in the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao, or BARMM. Provincial Police Director Brigadier General Arthur Cabalona said the region is generally peaceful and the minimum public health standards were observed during campaign sorties. Cabalona said more police personnel will be regularly deployed and maintain full alert status. For the PNA Newsroom, I am Stephanie Sevillano.
The government's program to further improve infrastructure across the country, along with people's preference for less crowded spaces, are expected to continue to fuel demand for housing outside of Metro Manila. Lichu Property Consultants Research and Consultancy Director Roy Amado Gole said residential real estate prices in Laguna, Cavite, Pampanga, and Tarlac have risen, especially for projects catering to the high-end market. He said land prices in Laguna have increased to around 50,000 pesos per square meter from about 35,000 per square meter 2 years ago. Gole said this means that land will be more valuable in the years ahead. Goles said the perception of a healthier, more open, less crowded household location has made it attractive for buyers to move out of Metro Manila. He added they expect more growth in the northern part of Metro Manila instead of the south due to the availability of more land. The Department of Public Works and Highways reports that the iconic Binondo Intramuros Bridge is ready to open by the 5th of April to April 9. DPWH Undersecretary Emil Sadain said the bridge could open to traffic sooner before the Holy Week begins on April 10. Sadain said they expect that around 30,000 vehicles daily to use the new two-way, four-lane bridge. The bridge also has a sidewalk for pedestrians and joggers and a marked lane for bikers. Meantime, construction crews will continue to work this week on the bridge for the final finishing touches. The Binondo Intramuros Bridge, together with the Estrella Pantaleon Bridge, which was completed in 2021, are two flagship infrastructure projects funded by China in support of Duterte's administration's Build, Build, Build program. More stories from the newsroom. 53 years of meaningless costs. Defense Secretary Delfin Lorenzana says it is not too late for New People's Army members to surrender. And this year's Balikatan drills between the U.S. and the Philippines officially opens. Back after a quick break, stay with the PNA Newsroom.
Hi everyone, James Deacon here. The COVID-19 vaccines are finally here, and the government wants to make sure the vaccines reach us. So let's do our part by making sure that we get registered to be included in the vaccination list of our LGU. You can register right in the comfort and safety of your own homes through your LGU's online registration platform. And you can also register on-site in the vaccination venues or through your barangay. Remember, getting vaccinated is the first step towards ending this pandemic. So let's do our part as disciplined citizens. Bida ang may disiplina. Magpakarehistro at magpabakuna para sa ligtas na pamilya, ligtas na bayan.
Defense Secretary Delfin Lorenzana said the 59th anniversary of the New People's Army is only a reminder of lost lives and suffering for a meaningless cause. The NPA celebrates its anniversary today, March 29. In a statement, Lorenzana said that over the years, the NPA took pride in committing atrocities in the name of their so-called ideology. Lorenzana, however, said more rebels have returned to the folds of the law and are now leading peaceful and productive lives under the Interagency Task Force Balik Loob. The defense chief said efforts must continue to save remaining CPP-NPA members from their lost cause. Meanwhile, an official of the National Task Force to End Local Communist Armed Conflict dismissed claims of so-called red tagging as a mere tactic to hide the truth about communist terrorist groups and their allies. NTF-LCAC Vice Chair Hermogenes Esperon Jr. said the CPP, NPA, NDF, and their front organizations always cry out red tagging when their links are exposed. Esperon said that those who have claimed that they have been red tagged are actually trying to deny the truth that they have been unmasked as members of a terrorist organization. He said the task force is now at the point where it is exposing the inner workings of the CPP, NPA, and NDF, including the debunking of their so-called revolutionary struggle, which only aims to take over the government. The Office of the Presidential Advisor on Peace, Reconciliation, and Unity hopes the next administration will continue the government's milestones and gains in pursuit of peace in the country. OPA-PRU President Carlito Galvez Jr. cited the ratification of the Bangsamoro Organic Law and the efforts to neutralize the remnants of the Daesh-inspired mounted group in Marawi City in pushing peace engagements with conflict-affected communities in Mindanao. Galvez said the public's confidence in economic development in the Bangsamoro region gradually increased after pushing for the comprehensive peace process. He added that poverty incidence in the region has decreased to up to double digits since last year. Another milestone was the closure of the 19-year-old peace agreement with the so-called Kapatiran revolutionary groups in Western Visayas. Galvez is confident that the next administration will prioritize the peace process. The Armed Forces of the Philippines sees the annual Balikatan exercises as a chance for Filipino and American troops to address their weaknesses and ensure that they can effectively respond to any emergency. During the opening of the joint military exercises at Camp Aguinaldo on Monday, AFP Chief of Staff General Andres Centino said Balikatan paved the way for enhanced cooperation, collaboration, and mutual commitment aimed at promoting collective security. He said that more importantly, the Balikatan exercise embodies the friendship and alliance between the Philippines and the United States of America. The two-week exercise, which runs until April 8, will feature drills on maritime security, amphibious live fire training, urban aviation and counter-terrorism, and humanitarian assistance and disaster relief operations. About 8,900 participants and observers from various armed forces are participating this year. In sports, the Philippines is set to host the 2023 Asian BMX Championships and Asian Junior BMX Championships in March 3 to 6 next year. This was announced by the Asian Cycling Confederation, or ACC, during its annual Congress in Tajikistan on Sunday. The event will take place at the Tagaytay City International Convention Center complex. Phil Cycling Chief Bambol Tolentino thanked the ACC for allowing the country to host the championships. He said, Phil Cycling will ask the International Cycling Union to calendar the 2023 Asian Championships as qualifiers for the Paris 2024 Olympics. Daniel Kaluwag, a London 2012 Olympian and the country's lone gold medalist at the Incheon 2014 Asian Games, will lead the Philippines BMX racing campaign. Joining him are his brother CJ Kaluwag and 2019 Asian Junior Championships gold medalist Patrick Koo. Let's take another look at today's biggest stories. The Bureau of Customs and the Agriculture Department are one in calling for digitalization of systems to curb smuggling, which takes a toll on local farmers' livelihood. Some 3,700 persons have so far been evacuated due to Taal volcano's continued unrest. The NDR-RMC says it is ready for the worst, assuring that the needs of the affected residents are met. The Department of Education assures the disbursement of more funds as schools gear up for the expansion of limited face-to-face classes. And nothing but suffering and lost lives, the country's defense chief urges New People's Army members to surrender and stop meaningless armed struggle which has spanned to over 5 decades. As Filipinos, we all have a vital role to play in preventing the spread of COVID-19. So remember, wear your face masks and face shields, wash your hands often, practice safe physical distancing, go out only for essential reasons, and get vaccinated as soon as possible to protect ourselves, our families, and the community. Together, we can beat COVID-19. Thank you for watching another episode of the PNA Newsroom. For more news content, check our webpage or log on to the Philippine News Agency's Facebook and Twitter accounts. For more stories about the government and how it serves Filipinos, look for these hashtags in all of our social media platforms and websites. We are shown on the pages of the PCOO and its attached agencies. Also watch us on television on PTV4 and IBC 13. And that's your daily dose of the biggest stories that you need to know. From the PNA Newsroom, we tell stories that inspire change. I am William Theo. Good day, everyone.